I asked him, can you race in that position? Remember, he's driving one of the Hondas, which have not been as fast as the Chevys. And he was one of those people saying, I hope it rains. He knows he does well in the rain, and he was hoping that he would be able to pull that off. And it sounds like we're going to get a full course yellow.
We have a car off the track, spun around at the exit of turn number 2. That is Rodolfo Gonzalez in the 18 car for Dale Coyne Racing. Watch the top of the screen here through some of the mist. Looks like when he powered up coming off that corner, around it went. Connor Daly's view.
There is a bump right there where he puts his foot on the gas, and when the drive, you've got grip, the car gets in the air and it lands, and he just didn't time that right.
So Gonzalez, the 29-year-old from Venezuela, in just his second IndyCar race, brings out the caution early in these really tricky conditions in Detroit.
They're sitting next to each other still, Alan.
We will see. Pace car heads off. And here they come back up to speed. Coletti makes contact into the wall. That's Tony Kanaan, gets hit by Graham Rahal, and one other car involved. I believe that's James Jakes.
And that all started with one little bump.
See the front suspension on the right-hand side of Graham Rahal's Steak and Shake car is missing.
Somebody hit me, man.
So,
as they try to change all that.
the 3 wide going into turn 1 is always difficult. Believe it's the 4 car of Stefano Coletti trying to get on the inside, does that, and when you end up hitting contact with another car, which is James Jakes, he then goes ahead and starts doing almost like a pinball movement, and everybody starts to get collected. Now we'll have to see if Jakes can get out of the tire barrier and get clear, but you see Graham Rahal there again with his suspension damaged. Let's just watch here on the outside. Oh, and Eddie, you know what that's like, sitting in the car when you're sideways like this. Here, let's go along with Graham. See the visibility very difficult. And Graham can't see, he's got really nowhere to go.
Graham could do nothing.
Into Kanaan.
We're out.
This is James Jakes.
Inside.
There is the cause. The result is Graham Rahal standing with Dr. Jerry Punch now instead of in his race car.
Just has not been able to come to grips with them. Remember last year, he had kind of a lost weekend where he had all kinds of problems. He's the guy hoping for rain and hoping that these tires can help him move up.
Yellow, yellow.
Charlie Kimball is another one who put on the slick tires on that last caution, and it might have just cost him there.
That little bridge there, let's watch here. Oh, he's sideways, guys. He's up over the brow. Right where that bump is, he's already sideways. And when the car lands back on the ground, he's already pointed towards the wall. Now here's his onboard. You see the car gets in the air and the tires come up. And more difficult, Eddie, when you've got the slicks on, because you know when you land, you don't have the grip.
And that's really the worst kind. When you overcorrect like that, you go nose first into the wall. If you spin and the back comes around, that's one thing, but he actually caught it and then lost it and went nose first. And that is a big hit.
That's a big impact.
That's a big chunk of cement that he just moved 2 or 3 feet back. That's not a guardrail.
So third full course yellow out already in this race, and the good news, you did see Charlie climb from the car. The bad news is it has left a mess of debris, and filter that through the fact that there's another race tomorrow that these crews have to get these cars ready to go with.
Just watch the throttle, the green, and the brake in the red as we ride along here.
Trouble into the barrier, Tristan Vautier. Local yellow for the moment as he has the car running and hasn't left anything behind.
Made the right choice when they gambled, which is part of very big part of racing.
Now look back here, guys. This is the situation we saw a second ago with Vautier. And as you watch what's unfolding here, Munoz, number 26, comes on the inside. Just a little bit of rub and go and sends off the competitor to the wet spot, which is exactly what you're trying to do, and he got going.
Fast lap of the race just set by the second car in your picture, Jack Hawksworth, driving AJ Foyt's 41.
Yes, he's closing the gap.
Debris on the racetrack. And that is literally sitting right in front of our booth.
Scott, why don't you go out and get it?
I mean, if I had a little longer arm, I could reach out. See that that booth right to the left of that picture there? That's us.
Yeah, with all the cars that have been running around here, I got to be honest with you and tell you, I'm not sure I'm loving the placement of the booth here, guys. There we go.
That's got to be 140 miles an hour, right in front of our booth.
So Rodolfo Gonzalez bouncing off the wall there. See the Venezuela logo on the rear wing of the backside of that car. Back live in Detroit, you see the red flag being waved from atop the starter stand while Luca Filippi has climbed from his car in turn 1 under the yellow flag. Filippi went straight off into the tire barrier in that corner. Fortunately, he's out of the car and okay.
If you look in the background here by the Chevy pickup truck, you can see he's actually going straight. We're not clear what happened with it, if there was a problem with the car, but certainly under yellow, a driver knows it's caution time, you're going slow, so we'll wait to get a report on that.
Meantime, the field parked along the...
It's a different playing field.
And the other part of it, it can be in an era in motorsport where it's very expensive to do and the number of seats and available seats are limited. Getting the opportunity to get that first win does something for your resume and your future that you can't put a finger on. And word coming in from race control, this race is being declared complete. Past halfway, the threatening weather and so on in the area, so indeed we do have a first-time winner in the IndyCar Series, and Carlos Munoz will get the trophy from race 1 in the Duel of Detroit as you look at the unofficial results.
I think can I say something here? Not only did Carlos Munoz win, but he beat a fellow Colombian that had just won the Indianapolis 500, who everybody said was going to win easily today. That is quite an accomplishment.
When you look at it right now, also the thing that comes to me is Honda has just won here in Detroit, the race sponsored by Chevrolet.
You're right.
Well, the ability to be, by starting back in the grid, we talked about this earlier, freeing them up to take that strategy gamble on going to the slicks sooner and getting them the track position over the others who couldn't afford to do so, put Munoz in position, and he and the Andretti Autosport team capitalized today. And as a word goes out left of your screen, the team gets the word, the race is official, and they are the winners here today in Detroit. So Carlos Munoz gets the victory, his first career win. Marco Andretti will finish second, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, and Scott Dixon, the top 5. The alternate victory lane being set up inside a building where we will be able to talk with Carlos and get his reaction to his first win. That's coming up when we continue from Belle Isle.
Doesn't have a fuel problem. He has this in the back.
If. White flag, 1 lap to go. Ray Hall looking at Sato for second while Sebastian Bourdais leads. Does he have the fuel to finish? Montoya under some pressure from Vautier for the 4th spot, well behind these front 3. And Vautier gets by Montoya.
What a great drive by him.
There's Andretti by Montoya. Montoya struggling.
There's Montoya running out of fuel.
Bourdais has just left everybody behind. Right now, Sato's biggest problem is Rahal.
Half a lap to go. Hopping the curb is Bourdais.
Very few corners left. He has no reason to look in his mirrors. All he has to focus on is about what is ahead of him and just hope there's enough fuel in the car.
Checkered flag is waving. He'll have enough fuel to make it. The winner of Duel in Detroit, race number 2, Sebastian Bourdais.
Good job, buddy. Awesome. Woohoo! All right, bud. Great job, man. Awesome job, brother. Awesome job. Great job, bud. Way to go.
After another another stop. Remember, he tried to go to slick scramble earlier in the race, and it didn't pay off. Doc?
And Juan Pablo Montoya apparently is trying to make a number. Whoops, a problem on the racetrack, guys.
Car into the wall. The 18, Rodolfo Gonzalez, has crashed. Full course yellow.
You see him in the back section of the frame there. Looks like he was just offline or just overdrove the turn. It did not have the front wheels turn. Ended up going in the tire barrier. Great for these tire.
Luca Filippi's around and into the wall.
Now the drivers that have the wets on have the option of getting offline. When you have these slicks on, you cannot go offline. Full course yellow.
The caution for Filippi, who's on the straightaway between turns 1 and 2.
And he had slicks on. And another car's in the barrier. Coletti's in the barrier. And I believe he had slicks on also.
Yeah, those are slick tires on that car.
You cannot get on the damn part of the track with these slick tires.
With troubles.
As you watch this here, just look at the top of the screen right now. Filippi is going to end up getting over that creek as we talk about. He's already a little bit wide. When you go over that creek, the car starts to get a little bit airborne. The back end started to come around from him, and they just lost it. Riding along with Tony Kanaan, he sees it all happen in front of him and accelerates away from the crash scene, which is a smart thing to do.
So that was part A of the incident. Part B.
And Coletti didn't stand a chance. He was way too wide.
Off on the wet part of the track on the slick tires. The question becomes, what circumstances present themselves that shake up this strategy, this rolling strategy play that we're seeing at the moment?
Newgarden in the wall.
Joseph Newgarden was just on the pit lane. He's crashed heavily.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Now watch the top of the screen. If he just came out of pit lane, trying to put the power down, it starts to swap sides.
Oh. Looks like he almost hit the hole in the wall, the gap in the wall.
Yeah, I'm not clear why that's there, but especially in such a particular spot of the racetrack like that. But
he got very lucky there. Very, very lucky.
So when the car starts to come out from underneath you, you correct with the steering, and then when the car grips itself, it generally goes where the front wheels are turned, and that's exactly what happened to Joseph.
Moved yet, still under just the local yellow.
Got a local yellow turn 3.
Now the drivers have to slow down on that local yellow. There we go.
Full course yellow, yeah.
Very good call.
That was a very wise decision. Especially with the dampness offline on the track and 2 stalled cars there and safety workers on the track. Very prudent call there.
They're both negotiating to get refired first.
Oh, look at this. They're making it 3 or 4 wide, so everybody's just bunching down into there.
And Karam just came in too hot and hit the back. Just runs into the back of him.
Sage Karam into the back of the 41 of Jack Hawksworth and just lifts up the back of the car.
And that's a really important place to do it.
Sweeps from one side of the track to the other.
Contact! Charlie Kimball clips his teammate Scott Dixon, and Dixon's into the tires.
He didn't clip him, he ran into him. I don't think he realized that Dixon was alongside him. Well, there's no more fuel strategy being played now. Everybody has enough fuel to race it to the end.
Seeing Kimball's just trying to get back into line on the dry section of the racetrack to get ready to take the next turn. Does not realize that his teammate Scott Dixon's beside him. Watch this, just a quick punt. Grass never has much grip.
No, especially when it's wet.
I'm sure Kimball's radioing back in there right now. Said sorry, didn't see
yellow, full course yellow.
And Rahal to Montoya's inside.
Montoya falls back to 4th.
car gets tagged. He tags Castroneves. Crash exiting turn 2.
Well, this probably helps the guys in front that were looking at their yellow.
Of all the cars for...
And the interesting thing that this probably does, the guy that was 5th in line that probably could have gone all the way to the end was Power.
There's the yellow flag, full course. Will Power's car in the wall, exiting turn 2, and clipping his teammate Helio Castroneves going across the track.
Remember, very difficult coming up over the hill. This is where the creek is underneath. Looks like he gets a little tap from the 19, which just sends his car sideways and goes and takes out his teammate.
At that point, he was totally out of control.
So
he gets clipped
19,
right here.
Tristan Vautier is on the inside, just enough over that high part of the racetrack when the car is light anyways, doesn't have contact with the ground.
And Marco's just relieved they went to the left because he had absolutely nowhere to go.